Welcome, everyone, to episode 39 of the Thundercraps podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I am your host, the man to give you the feeling to make you hit the ceiling, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, a dirty, filthy sloth, Kyle Hoagland.
What's going on, everybody? And also a happy 12th birthday to my, I guess, then future wife. Because this is November 5th, 1998, so she would have just turned 12 years old. I highly doubt she was watching Thunder, but if I was in Roanoke, Virginia, I definitely would have had a "Will you marry me, Catherine" sign. What's going on?
What is going on? And that's a lot. Happy belated by 21 years, or 20 years and some change, or something to that effect. To your wife, of course, it is Thunder 39. We are live. It is Roanoke, Virginia, and we're heading towards World War III, Kyle. That
sounds more ominous than it should be, but I'm looking forward to it.
What we're blessed with here on the WWE Network is this week's episode is presented in the most complete form possible due to original production technical difficulties. So that already got me excited, and I got to be honest, once we finished the show, it really wasn't all that bad.
Whatever was missing, it was. I think we could have gotten away with them not even telling us that. I don't know if you did. I did not. I did not try going through the annals of the internet to see if there was like a completely untouched version of the show. Obviously, other than like maybe just like the local commercials that you can't really see anyways. But really, it didn't feel like there was really any audio problems to speak of. There was one like weird pause during I think Ravens match, but nothing that I wouldn't have chalked up to classic TBS Thunder production.
Absolutely. I think at one point it had like a weird cutout when it went to commercial, or kind of like ended fast abruptly, and I'm like, maybe that was it. But overall, with like you said, the classic production we get on TBS for Thunder, I would say par for the course.
Absolutely, no complaints to your WWE Network. You didn't have to apologize for this.
But we appreciate it anyways. That said, let's get into the show. Like I said, live from Roanoke, Virginia. The fans are chanting, "We want Flair." Of course, this is Horsemen Country, and the commentary team lets us know the Horsemen are here tonight. Of course, Tony Lee and Bobby all here, and they're opening up the show by congratulating Jesse Ventura on winning the governorship of Minnesota. So this is kind of a big, this was a big deal back then. I remember when this was first announced. Like I said, we were like 13 years old or whatever at this time, and I didn't remember too much about Jesse the Body Ventura when I was 13. I knew of him. I knew that he was a former professional wrestler. I knew he did some commentary. But I just remembered this being a really weird time of being like, wow, we're like electing, retired professional wrestlers into like, political office. Like, it's not going to get any weirder than this. Am I right? There's my political shtick for this show. There you have it. Yep. So back then, Jesse Ventura, now another former wrestling star in Trump running for being president.
Hey, they're both Hall of Famers in the WWE Hall of Fame. So there you go.
That's true. But the commentary team discusses that Hogan is going to make his announcement for running for presidency. He's going to make the announcement on Nitro, and will announce his running mate. So we got something to look forward to this Monday night. And at this point, they start making jokes and about Hogan being president. And this is when Bobby Heenan says he's moving to Canada. So even back then, we had liberal snowflake Bobby Heenan. Am I right?
Absolutely. Well, I wouldn't say liberal snowflake. I would just say that obviously, if Heenan were to ever write an autobiography on himself, the first thing he would probably say is "Fuck Hulk Hogan, I hate the guy."
Right. If Hogan were president, we'd probably get World War III, which is the promo we got coming up next here. where they're promoting the upcoming pay-per-view, of course, 60 men, 3 rings, Battle Royal, winner facing Goldberg or the world champion at Starrcade. And then this is where we're getting our first sign of the night. It says your mom's box. So,
and going back to what you just said, it's either going to be Goldberg or whoever's champion. How much of a stupid debacle would it be if whoever won World War III would just take on a guy who had just beaten Goldberg for the title? Like, what kind of weird Starrcade would that be? Is just like the new champion versus somebody who wins at World War III? Unless there was like a perfect storm storyline about it. Like, of course Goldberg's going to have the title going into Starrcade.
Naturally. But it's fun to think otherwise.
Hey, you never count out Raven.
That's right. And Raven will be coming out in the opening match as the valet for Kanyon, as Kanyon's in the ring with Barry Horowitz. And while Kanyon's coming out, we find out that Lee Marshall decides 2 of the favorites to win World War III, Kevin Nash and Kanyon. So I'd definitely put those 2 superstars in the same category of potential number 1 contenders for the world title. Kanyon's going to get in the ring, said he's keeping it real here in the 90s. He's going to say his Kanyon things. And while Captain Strange or Mr. Spiral Downward himself, those are Tony Schiavone's words, not mine, watches on, I got to say, Raven looked incredibly disinterested. And I don't know if that's part his character or if he literally could not care any less than he did standing out there for this match.
Which, when you think about it, that's what no matter what it is, it's fantastic television, because either he's just playing it and he's doing a great job because we're talking about it, or he really doesn't care and there's a story behind that. So it's like, no matter what it is, whether it's like a shoot or if it's just him playing his character, it's interesting to see him out there, to be honest.
Yeah, it absolutely is. At this point, you have your Bobby Heenan maybe quote of the night.
The classic. So I don't even know where this came out. I think it was because they were talking about how, as good as Kanyon is, he always starts his whole hashtag Kanyon things and does the who's better than Kanyon. He's trying to get the crowd to like him. Obviously the crowd's not responding to him, and so Heenan in his infinite wisdom goes, well, when you come out here and people don't like you and you ask them to like you, they're not going to like you. Believe me, I know what it's like to be liked, and I know what it's like to be not liked, and I like a lot of people. There's a lot of people I don't like. You know what I'm trying to say.
It is classic Bobby here. What is not classic is Barry Horowitz dropping a powerbomb with Kanyon on the top rope, like a reversal where he takes him and slams him down. Never expected to see that in this match.
I would have paid you $1 if you told me that he was going to do this in this match, because I wouldn't believe you.
Kanyon is going to, of course, win this match with a flatliner. I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was a solid match, and Barry Horowitz actually got a surprising amount of offense in, and it felt okay.
I was fine with it. 2 stars. Barry Horowitz is the jobber's jobber. I always call him Employee of the Year because he always does the job. It's something that I expected from both of them as far as the work, though. If they were actually going to do a back-and-forth kind of match, I think this is about what I would expect from them. And it was short enough not to expose either of them for the work that they're required to do. I don't think anyone wants to see a 10-minute Barry Horowitz Kanyon match. Nothing exciting, but it wasn't a bad primer for the whole show. So I was okay with this being the first match of the night.
After this, Buff Bagwell and Scott Steiner are going to come out and cut a promo. Of course, they say they're coming from the penthouse to the outhouse here in Roanoke. They basically call the crowd a bunch of rednecks and scumbags. And
which, by the way, the crowd popped. Like, they loved the fact that they were being called rednecks and scumbags.
Buff Bagwell is going to get on the microphone and said he's rocking a new outfit, which is like sort of like a vest with a zipper. And he says, tells the ladies to wrap their lips around his zipper. Scott Steiner says he has no respect for authority, tells JJ to find him all he wants, says the NWO Black and White is the best, the Wolfpack are a bunch of copiers, and he says tonight he's going to show Lex Luger that he has the greatest body in sports, and Lex will fear him. So that sets up for our main event of Scott Steiner versus Lex Luger.
One quick thing. Why does WCW think that finding the NWO is what you're supposed to do? They think this is now like the third angle of an NWO character, like kind of defying authority, attacking officials. and beating up people past the bell and getting fined. I think we also had the classic the jackknife powerbomb being banned and getting fined and arrested every single time that happened. Like it's a stale storyline, and obviously even Lee Marshall in his infinite wisdom is like they're like all these guys are backed up by Hogan's money. Like if you're gonna find someone like $10,000, I don't think anyone gives a shit. So I don't know. It just seems like an empty threat. It's not an interesting storyline. I kind of feel bad. It's supposed to set the fact that Scott's an unhinged guy that doesn't care and he will beat up anybody and hurt anybody, which is fine. But I wish they would do something a little bit more creative than just being like, they threw him a $10,000 fine.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But for the meantime, that's all we've got here. After this, we get our Saturday night promo, where it's Tony kind of narrating while they're showing random shots of Conan, Scott Hall, Rey Mysterio, and we know that Lex Luger and the Giant are wrestling. So decent amount of stars for this WCW Saturday night. Yeah,
first thing I thought was this actually looks better than most Thunders.
Yeah, absolutely. After this, we move our next match of the night. Raven's back out here, this time in action, as he'll be wrestling Alex Wright. And this is where we see our second sign of the night. Walmart is Wolfpack forever. As somebody who owned a lot of Wolfpack merchandise from Walmart, I would have to agree.
Yeah, I think that the only two Wolfpack shirts I ever owned were both Walmart licensed. So, yeah, I'll go with that.
Alex Wright's going to get on the microphone while Raven's going to sit in the corner. This is where, of course, Alex Wright's going to cut his promo first in German, then realizes that, you're all dumb Americans who only speak English. Calls Raven dirty, says he's clean-shaved with abs, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but all right. Says Raven's nasty and covered with tattoos. This leads to Raven attacking him. Alex Wright's going to leave like he's going to walk out and not wrestle, but Raven's going to sit back down. This is when Alex Wright's going to come back in and attack him. This leads to Lodi coming out, who's got some signs pleading for Raven to basically get his shit together. This, of course, will lead to Disco Inferno showing up because why
Of course
not?
It does, yeah.
Disco rocking a neon green blouse here. He's going to tell Lodi to leave, then he's going to attack Lodi. Then Canyon's going to come out in a sweatshirt. He's going to attack Disco Inferno.
I'm so glad that nowadays, in the 2019 era, all wrestlers who aren't wrestling usually are rocking their own merchandise, like a T-shirt of theirs,
right,
or something. Instead, like this reminds me of like when we first were talking about when Ric Flair would come out when he wasn't wrestling, he'd always wear like a sweater or some bullshit. And this is exactly what this is, and it's just such a weird. I'm glad that Disco's still in his character. Disco's still rocking some neon green. He's staying in. Kanyon coming out in what looks like something you got from like the clearance section of a Super K doesn't exactly make you like, oh, I better fear the Kanyon right now.
Yeah, this whole segment was just weird. Canyon's gonna get suplexed. Raven's gonna walk away. He's gonna get counted out. Technically, Alex Wright won this match, but it really wasn't a match. I mean, it was at the beginning, I suppose, but it turned into a clusterfuck. I mean, Lodi, Kanyon, Disco. I don't know what they were trying to get across with this entire segment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know you didn't give it a rating, but I mean, I gave it a low rating. I think the thing that made it weird was when Raven actually left. Like they had him. I think he got like dropped on the top rope. Like I think he was at the top rope, and I think he got his like legs put on, kind of like wishbone so that he kind of lands his dick and balls on the top of the turnbuckle. And then Alex Wright goes to the top to like perform a move, like maybe like a superplex or something. But Raven fights him off. And then Raven for like 30 seconds just sits on the turnbuckle doing nothing except like reeling like he's in pain. And then he just gets on the apron, gets off the apron, and then walks away. Like, what a weird – like, to me, that was just a weird time. It was in the middle of the match. It wasn't like a point where he felt like it was like, okay, I'm leaving now. It was just like, wait, why – if you're going to do that, if you're going to tell the story like Raven's feeling uninspired or whatever, that particular time felt stupid to do it.
Absolutely. I can't even put logic to this whole segment. Well, after this clusterfuck, we get Tony Schiavone out there near the entrance ramp interviewing Chris Jericho, who's accompanied by his personal security, Ralphus. Jericho's hair is all over the place for this one. It's very.
It's one of my favorite things about Jericho during this period is that as far as facial grooming and his head, like he just does whatever he wants. Like today was kind of like a something about Mary in a wind tunnel type of look. But I mean, we've seen nights where that guy's like, his facial hair is just everywhere. His hair is in pigtails one day, and the other one it's like braided. Now this one is just like he's just got a bunch of product that just like has his hair like it's like Bernie Sanders fucking hair everywhere. Second political shtick of the day. Sorry. But yeah, it's fucking classic Jericho, and I miss him being on the mic every week. I don't think he was on the mic last week, so glad to see him back.
Yeah, and he is gonna cut a promo here on Goldberg, or Greenberg as he of course is calling him. Says he's 4-0 against Goldberg, and says he is the television champion, which means if you stuff your face with chips, if you're watching the boob tube, if you're married to the remote, if you're channel surfing, I am your champion. It's a pretty good promo here from Jericho. Like you said, it's good to see him out here on it. And honestly, I know Goldberg really was pissed off at Jericho during this whole thing. Didn't think, almost thought Jericho was beneath him and shouldn't have ever done this. They never had the blow off that they should have had with the way it was handled. And World War III would have been the perfect time to do this. Obviously, Goldberg is going to be your champ going on. You could have had a quick segment where Jericho comes out, during the show, during the pay-per-view, cuts another promo. Goldberg's like, you know what, fuck it, comes out, speared him, jackhammer. It could be over in 2 minutes, and it would have shut it up. It would have, made Jericho get his shit, for all the shit he's been talking for.
And Jericho would have been fine with that.
Oh,
he's been on the record that he would have been fine with just getting squashed.
Yes, it was a missed opportunity that they never had the blow off, so to speak, for this whole thing. But after this, we get Fit Finlay in action wrestling Booker T, which I was happy to see Booker T back, of course, back from injury. Commentary didn't even seem to acknowledge the fact that he was back, so I don't know if he was been back for a while or if he came back on Monday and they just don't care to make it seem like a big deal that he's back again. But he is back, and we're going to see our third sign of the night, and it's going to say, Hello, Kaiser. It actually says Hello, Dewey Kaiser, but the rope kind of was in a perfect spot to strike right through the first name. So I'm just going to pretend one of you Thundercraps listeners went back in time, got a front row seat to Thundercraps, and held up a sign that says Hello, Kaiser. So hello.
We'll know it's true if we get like a Hello, Hoagie, or Hello, Kyle, or something like that later. So if that happens, then we know that we're looking forward to some time travel in our future.
Absolutely. Booker T apparently confirmed that it was Scott Hall, in fact, who attacked him in the backstage weeks ago, whenever that story took place. As for the match itself, I actually
at least weeks ago. I mean, Booker T's been on the shelf for at least 3 months.
Yeah, it's probably been a couple months now. You're right. As for this match, though, these two could put on a good match together. We've seen it. I was not crazy about this match. I thought it looked a little sloppy with some of the execution. It might have been ring rust on Booker T's account here. He is going to win this match in a really unique way, where he's Fitz charging at Booker as they're both kind of running into the corner. Booker T's going to kind of donkey kick himself up and over over Finlay, and then he's going to be behind him, kind of do a reverse curl up pin. I love the surprise 3 count like that. I gave the match 2 stars because I thought it was a little sloppy, but I really loved the ending.
I gave it 2 1/4. I was glad to see. I think we discussed this last time. We're glad to see wrestlers win without needing to use like signature finishing moves from time to time.
It's nice to see that from once in a while.
But at the same time, like Booker T is such a unique and explosive moveset that winning with a roll up just seems kind of weird. Like I almost want to see it. It's almost like when you I guess kind of tie certain movesets with people, you kind of want to see them win with it. It's kind of like, watching, I don't want to compare, like this is not like apples to apples, but it would be kind of like watching The Rock win with a small package. Like if you want to see him win, I want to see a people's elbow. I want to see the rock bottom. If it's Stone Cold, I want to see a stunner. I think in this case, I would have liked to, especially because it's been a while since we've seen him wrestle. I think it would have been nice to watch him do like a nice missile drop kick or a Harlem Hangover. But I get it. I've also learned that now that we've got enough sample set, if you are a former TV champion, you better do something better, or you will always be known as a former TV champion. I'm pretty sure I would have drank 5 shots if every time they talked about one of these two being a former TV champion.
It is amazing because you don't hear so much like former television champ or former tag team champion or
Former
States
US
champion.
yeah.
World champion, of course, which makes a lot of sense. Once you're a world champ, like you should be known as a former 3-time world champion, whatever.
But when like Lex Luger wrestles and stuff, they hardly ever be like, "Oh, former world champion."
But it's always brought up for television champion.
Yes, right? Exactly.
It's a good point. After this, we get a commentary team to discuss Konnan and Alex Rodriguez, who apparently are buddies. And this is when we see the Konnan music video. Whew. I don't know what to say about this other than blame it on the alcohol, which they said a lot during the video. It was a terrible video. It was a terrible song. And at the end, there's a car in the right lane, which makes a left-hand turn and cuts off the car in the left lane that's also driving in the same direction.
You would notice this.
It was fucking bullshit. What are they doing? The only thing I'll know is Tony and Lee apparently liked the video, and Lee Marshall, of course, knows where you can find the lowriders in California. So
Lee's got all the street cred, man. Also, after watching this, all it made me do for the next 20 minutes was try to find the Disco Inferno music video. Still can't find it.
Yeah, great point. I would like to have seen the Disco Inferno music video, not this bullshit here. That said, after this, we get the Cat coming out with Sonny Ono, and this is where we see our fourth sign of the night. Goldberg failed the school of SCU, which, of course, is Stone Cold University. So, good one, fan paying money here in WCW to talk shit about WCW. You really got them. You showed them. The Cat's going to get on the microphone here. Of course, he's talking to, he calls out anyone else who refers to themselves as the greatest and says if they say it to his face, they're going to get destroyed. Of course, referring to, like, Muhammad Ali. And then he's going to call out the dude in the front row with the long blonde hair who said looks like a lady. I got to say, the dude himself took the cut down pretty well. He was laughing about it. So the Cat's, of course, talking trash, trying to get someone to come out and fight him. Kaz Hayashi's going to run out, and at this point, he's going to attack Sonny Ono. And then this, of course, leads to Glacier's big return, Kyle. So Glacier comes out. He spends 15 minutes on his entrance. He's going to remove his armor. And then he's going to have the microphone and say he's not here to wrestle. Instead, he's here to say that, WCW doesn't give these karate guys any respect. And that, the Cat and him are kind of on the same level here, and that the Cat needs someone to watch his back, and that's what Glacier's here for. And the Cat's just going to respond by continuing to talk trash.
So basically, Glacier didn't come out at all. Like, the whole point of this was supposed to be, but then, last time Sonny Ono did the same thing, but he at least, showed a bunch of $100 bills, and it at least interested, Ernest the Cat Miller, and now he's with Sonny Ono. It's like the blind leading the blind. But this whole thing with, how weird is it that, like, Kaz Hayashi, which I'm sure the whole crowd's like, what the fuck's this guy doing? He goes right after Sonny Ono. We don't know what happens. The lights go out. Here comes Glacier in his outfit. He does his Undertaker, style, making his way to the ring in 15 minutes. And then by the time the lights turn back on, Kaz is like dead in the corner. We have no idea what happened to him. And then
it was really weird. Like, and maybe this is part of the production issues they had. Maybe they showed it, and then it was there was issues there, so we never got to see it. But I can also just see that like being bad TBS, bad WCW here.
Yeah, I see this more as this is just bad. This is not a technical difficulty. This is just bad production. But I love that they had like a 2-minute standoff. They were like both in their like karate stances, as almost like it's like a hostage exchange. As Glacier slowly like moving to his right to get closer to Sonny Ono so he can get the mic. Like that whole thing that could have just easily just been walk over and get a mic, man. Like you don't need to have a standoff. Like we get it, you're karate guys. But either way, It was just funny that Glacier's like, hey, I'm on your side, and I got your back. And then he leaves, and the cat just completely just throws that out. He's just like, I don't need your help. I'm the greatest. Like I loved it. Like, wow, way to kind of bury Glacier's like maybe last hope of being in a storyline.
Yeah, pretty much. That said, someone who's still, for some reason, in storylines, Horace Hogan coming out, accompanied to the ring by basically 90% of the NWO, as Vincent, Stevie Ray, Scott Hall, Scott Norton all come out, and of course Horace must be wrestling, someone of the caliber of Sting or Kevin Nash or someone like that to justify bringing out all these NWO members. Nope, Norman Smiley, who's already in the ring. Norman now getting, I think that's 2 weeks in a row or 2 appearances in the row for Norman without with the no entrance treatment. And Horace is going to win with, I'm calling it a suplex. I think it was supposed to be a brain buster because I saw your notes on that too, and I'm like, but it was a really fucking weak looking brain buster if it was. I gave it a 1.5 stars. What was this shit?
I gave it a 1 3/4 stars. I didn't think it was a bad squash. But you're doing Horace no favors, making the crowd and the TV audience think that he needed the entire NWO out to help take out Norman Smiley. In fact, they did do like a triple team on Norman Smiley on the outside. I was okay with the brainbuster for the win. It could be worse. It could have been like Bryan Adams or something, which I think is the only guy that was missing there. I guess you could have had like Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell, but they got their own shtick going. It feels the NWO is so fucking weird right now, man. Like as far as the white and black, like it feels like there's different teams all the time. Like there's different people that just kind of are with other people. You got like Hogan, Bischoff, and then you've got like Scott and Buff, and then you've got the rest of the people that are kind of headed by Scott Hall, and then you just got Bret Hart just like dangling around. Like, I don't even know if he's even considered in the NWO now. I don't know enough now. He doesn't come out to NWO music, so I have no idea what to make of him. It's so convoluted now, the whole NWO, just in general. Even the Wolfpack. I think all of it is just way too much now.
I think they know that too, and I think that's why they're heading in the direction they eventually head here in less than 2 months or just about 2 months. But for the time being, this is the shit we've got. But what's not convoluted is the LWO, Kyle, and that's what we've got coming up next is Eddie Guerrero's in action. We're going to see our 5th sign of the night at this point. It's going to say, hi, Paige. So those time travelers are here, of course, saying hi to the SmackDown GM, Paige. And Eddie Guerrero is going to be wrestling Rey Mysterio Jr. Eddie's going to get on the microphone here, and he's going to mention how Rey has now turned down the LWO twice. But the stipulation that Eddie just made, apparently, without the consent of anyone else, is that when when he says when Rey Mysterio loses tonight, he is forced to join the LWO. Which I like your comment. What happens if Rey wins this match?
I love matches where there's only one side of stipulations. Like, oh yeah, well, you're in this match, so if I win, it's like, I get your girlfriend for a week. It's like, okay, what if I win? Well, then I don't get your girlfriend for a week, I guess.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, then fair enough. That's just a classic heel babyface thing to do. Like the babyface just wants to win to be better and to entertain the crowd and move up in the rankings. Whereas a heel just thinks that's not enough and he's got to take more from a personal standpoint. It's classic wrestling.
It absolutely is. Eddie is going to give him the option one last time to accept that shirt before the match so they don't even have to go to this, which is, I think, a kind gesture. That said, of course, Rey's going to turn it down, and the match is going to be pretty good back and forth, and then Eddie, of course, is going to start to work that repaired knee of Rey. He's going to remove the brace. He works and holds that leg most of the match, and then Rey's going to do a pretty good-looking spot, also like a kind of a hard spot where Eddie's on the outside, kind of near the stairs, and Rey's going to go up and over the top of the ring post out to the stairs, and they're going to kind of go crashing down in like a press, like a Thez press variation. Looked great. Also looks kind of not a move everybody should be doing. That's for sure. Eddie's going to continue to work the leg. He's going to have this cool-looking submission, which they call a variation of the Deathlock. I believe is what Tanay referred to it as. The entire LWO is going to come out, but they're not going to interfere. And the bell's going to ring. You're going to think maybe Ray tapped out at this point. No, time limit expiration. So apparently there's the time limit draw here. That said, I gave it 2 3/4 stars. I thought it was a really good match. I thought it told a good story. It continues to push this LWO thing. And, the time limit draw, I appreciated the twist of an ending here. I shit on Thunder so often, and WCW in general, for bad endings and clusterfuck endings. When they do something like this that, like, surprises me, but, like, in a good way, fuck it. Good for you guys. 2 3/4 stars.
Oh, yeah, because we all know about the 9-minute time limit expiration match.
Right.
That's the only thing that drove me nuts was, like, usually when there's a time limit, I think on TV they do, like, a 10-minute time limit, which I think is also bullshit because I'm pretty sure we've seen matches on Thunder go over 10 minutes. Once again, the time limit expiration means nothing. So anybody here knows and understands there's no such thing as a time limit expiration. This is professional wrestling. They make up the rules however they want. Moving forward with it, though, I gave it 2 1/4. I think this is a stupid time for a time limit match. I understand what you, as far as a time limit ending, I get what you're saying. Like every once in a while, it's nice to kind of throw different things in. I didn't like the way they did it this time around. I'm also not a huge fan of luchador matches that have people working the knee. And I think we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I know we had talked about where Jericho hates doing stuff like that, where doing a match where he favors his knee or oversells the knee, because then how do you do a match when a lot of your moves are high flying, jumping in the air and stuff that's going to cause a lot of shock to the knee. So if Ray is really going to sell this idea of having a bad knee, it's almost basically crippling him being able to do what he tries to do. Now, for the most part, he didn't sell the knee injury because he did basically whatever he wanted to most of the time. The match was fine. Like, I had no problem with the match, but it definitely lost a couple points with the whole working too much with the knee story, and then I don't know the time limit draw. I understand how this makes sense with the whole LWO, and there was a stipulation involved in it. I just wasn't a big fan of it.
Well, fair enough. After the match, the LWO wants to take out Ray, but Eddie's going to hold him off. So I think it continues to push this LWO story, which is the Rey Mysterio LWO story is the only thing interesting about the LWO. So I appreciate they're doing something here on Thunder as far as stories go. That said, the next match, the television title is on the line. As Chris Jericho is going to be defended against Prince Iaukea.
Finally. Thank you, Prince Iaukea. You've earned your spot back.
As soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh God, this has former television champion Prince Iaukea written all over it, and the commentary team did not disappoint.
And he didn't have to get on a scale this time to go for the belt against Jericho.
It did take them a little bit of time to mention former television champ, just because Tony spent the first 5 minutes shilling out all kinds of house shows and pay-per-view purchasing and all that before he's able to talk about the match. And then as soon as he's able to talk about the match, he lets us know that Prince Iaukea was a former television champion. Bobby Heenan's going to let us know that Hogan's running mates could be Ross Perot or Ted Kennedy, as he just starts to randomly throw names out there. Prince Iaukea is actually going to block not just the Lion Salt, but also he's going to reverse the Lion Tamer. And this is a couple times during the match, they note that Prince Iaukea is a great defensive wrestler, which I didn't know was a thing. But apparently it is. Jericho is going to eventually win this match with the Lion Tamer. I gave it 2 1/4 stars. I didn't think it was like an amazing match, but honestly, I thought Prince Iaukea actually they made me believe that there was a chance Prince Iaukea was going to win this a few times with some near 3 falls, and then also the blocking and the reversing of Jericho's signature moves. I thought, you know what? If I'm a betting man, Jericho's going to win this, but there was a part of me that believed, Prince Iaukea might have a chance at this one. So 2 1/4 star.
And I think that's why I gave it a 2.5. I definitely had, there were definitely parts where I'm like, I wouldn't have been shocked shocked wouldn't have been the word if Prince Ikea had somehow just came up with a win because maybe they had something else in store for Jericho or maybe there's a storyline in the back that we don't know about that he would have relinquished the title and he's doing something else. So I thought it was a nice match. Not much action really until the very end of the match where I think Prince Ikea just looked like a man on fire for a little bit. He was reversing everything under the sun. He had a nice springboard kind of somersault. So, I mean, his offense was really good towards the end. I think the other thing that a little sour taste was even during this point where the match was starting to get good, the commentary was more focused on talking about other things instead of a TV title match.
Yeah, fair enough. That's the unfortunate part about Thunder in general, though, sometimes is they just don't always pay attention to the match. And had they talked more about this match, I may have bumped it up a little bit more than that. I can tell you a match that they're not going to talk about at all, and we should really talk about that, and it's our next one, Kyle, is Disco Inferno is going to be wrestling Scott Hall, who's going to be accompanied to the ring by Horace rocking a beret, Scott Norton, Stevie Ray, and Vincent. Disco is going to count all the NWO members and say no thank you, and turn around or not really turn around, start backing up to leave the, the arena, and this is where he's going to bump into the Giant. And the Giant's going to attack him and bring him back into the ring. And as he does that, the bell's going to ring because the referee must have said, yep, that's fair. Let's start the match. This is where we're going to see our sixth sign of the night as well. It says, Miss Elizabeth, take my husband, which I think is a nice thing for a wife to offer up.
I'm about to say, that sounds like an awesome wife.
Goldberg chants are loud in this match. Apparently they think Goldberg's going to take out the NWO and save Disco Inferno. So... Roanoke crowd, not the smartest. Scott Hall, of course, is going to win this match with an outsider's edge. I give it a star and 3/4, and I'm not even sure I should have even rated this match.
I gave it 2 stars. It's a quarter star better than the Horace match I rated. That's basically my only way of grading this match. Yeah,
fair enough. After this, Tony Schiavone's in the ring, which can only mean one of two things. Either Diamond Dallas Page is here or Ric Flair is here. And, of course, this time around, it's Ric Flair. And we will see our 7th sign of the night as the Horsemen are making their way to the ring, and it's Eric Bischoff fears Space Mountain.
So, basically, for those of you who don't understand that, Eric Bischoff fears Ric Flair's penis.
Right. And to be honest, that's a fair thing to fear. Horsemen are getting in the ring. Arn Anderson's going to get on there and say, start making fun of the NWO because it said it took 6 of them to beat Disco Inferno, which is
I loved it.
Great comment to
loved
make.
It.
He's going to wonder why Eric Bischoff's being so silent and says that, either he needs to pull the trigger or push the button on the Horsemen versus the NWO, which, I agree that needs to happen as they continue to push that.
Flip the switch, pull the lever. Call the smoke signals, whatever else Arn wanted to say.
Whatever bop it commands there are left that he skipped.
Exactly.
Dean Malenko's going to get the microphone and say it's great to be back in the arena where his dad wrestled. And it's also great to have Chris Benoit healthy and back as well. Benoit is going to say your dream world is about to be crushed by reality. And then Flair's going to get on there. He's going to laugh about how he said, Tony, were you really a boy when I came out here wrestling? As he starts to feel real old. And then he says, before he takes the big office as president, now referring to the fact that Ventura's governor and Hogan wants to run for president, Flair said before he takes the big office, he's going to take your office, Bischoff. And then he says he's going to tell Hogan what to do when he has the office of WCW. And he's going to get Aretha Franklin out here waltzing around the ring singing R-E-S-P-E-C-T. And then he's going to end the segment by humping the ropes and say, file this, buddy, while I look at your girlfriend.
This might have been my favorite overall. I mean, once again, this is that towing that line thing. So a couple weeks back, we had a couple of cringy Horseman spots where they're talking about, doing some, classic domestic violence and rape and all this other drugging and of Miss Elizabeth and stuff. This was much more comical. This was much more of the Ric Flair spazzing out, having a good time.
Yes. As far as most of it goes. Yeah, this was fun, lighthearted, and it got the point across. And Mongo McMichael doesn't cut it.
And Mongo wasn't there. That was the best part. I made the GIF, but I don't know if I'm going to post it on there, but it's the point where he starts humping the ropes, and Benoit just corpsing it in the background. He loved it.
Did. You could see him looking around like, is this
shit-eating grin, dude?
Right now?
I love
this dude humping a rope?
I'm not saying I enjoy a murderer, but I was saying Chris Benoit, at this point, you entertain me without doing much.
True that. After this, the pyros are going off. We're heading to overtime as we're going to our main event. Scott Steiner coming out with Buff Bagwell as he'll be wrestling Lex Luger. Scott Steiner and Buff are going to get into the ring. Nick Patrick's in there. He, of course, is the senior official, and he's also the one who came in late during the Scott-Rick match at Halloween Havoc and counted Scott in a loss. This, of course, is still a salty, touchy subject for Scott Steiner. So him and Buff are going to take Nick Patrick out right here. This is going to bring Luger out for the save. Him and Luger and Steiner are going to wrestle now without a ref in the ring. And Tony Schiavone says he doesn't care. To the heck with referees. Just beat him senseless. EMTs are going to come out. They're going to get Nick Patrick and wheel him off. This might be the quickest stretcher job in the history of stretcher jobs because they literally just threw his ass on the stretcher and started wheeling him out of there. Scott Steiner is going to get him a quick attack before he gets out of there.
I love that he still went back to beat up on Nick Patrick on a stretcher.
Meanwhile, Buff Bagwell is going to talk to his hat a little bit as his hat is airbrushed with his face on it. Heenan's going to be talking about how Judy Bagwell is naked.
Wait, what? Whoa, all right. I missed that completely.
It's when he says they start talking about Judy Bagwell was talking about Buff and said she loves Marcus Bagwell, but she's not a fan of Buff. Yeah. And that's when he said, "What is Judy Bagwell was in the Buff?"
Oh God. Okay. That does sound like something Heenan would say.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that full circle because I didn't know what the whole naked comment was.
No, I know. I had to say it like that to catch. In case people are like tuned out for a minute, all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, Judy Bagwell was naked? What did I miss?"
Well, you at least got one person.
The crowd is very excited for the very slight comeback Lex had in this match. He is going to gain momentum. He's going to call for the forearm. Then he's going to call for the torture rack. He's going to get Scott up in the torture rack. This is going to bring out Mickey J, who's going to come in for what you think is going to be the ending. But then Buff Bagwell is going to take out Mickey J. Luger's going to go after.
What did he take him out with? Do you know what the hell he was carrying around the entire time? It was
supposed to be the slapjack, but I don't think it was the slapjack.
No, it was the end of a hockey stick. He was just walking around with just the end of it, stick? And was just hitting people with a hockey stick.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's one of the weirdest weapons I've ever seen somebody use in a match.
I just assumed it was something. I didn't even pay that close attention, but I knew it was. I thought it was like a slapjack or like he curled up a belt or something. I don't know. Mickey J is going to get attacked though by Buff and Scott Steiner. Luger, of course, was attacked as well. This is going to bring out Rick Steiner in for the save. Then he's going to chase Scott Steiner out, and then the Wolfpack music is going to play as Rick is checking on Lex and Mickey J. So. That is your Thunder. That was your Thunder main event. What'd you think about the show overall?
Overall, I thought it was a pretty entertaining Thunder. I enjoyed the Eddie Ray match, even though I think the ending was not what I would have wanted to see. From a story standpoint, I get why they did it. Doesn't mean I agree with it. I thought the Ikea Jericho match was probably match of the night, in my opinion, as far as from beginning to end with a decent finish. And also the Horseman segment was an instant classic, probably my favorite Horseman segment that I've seen on Thunder. I feel bad for who had the job on the show, though, especially Norman Smiley. I think that and once again, I think you and I have agreed that overall Norman Smiley's work is above average. Obviously, there's going to be more things in store for Norman Smiley post 1998, and I'll be looking forward to talking about that when we get to it. But I think he's a really good enhancement talent, and he didn't get a single lick of offense in a Horace goddamn Hogan match. And I think that really annoyed me with the match in general. Also, do we really need Glacier to be lazily added into an angle that no one cares about in the Ernest the Cat Miller and Sonny Ono? Also, good to see Booker T back. So, overall, not much to complain about, although we were kind of left in the dark about Nitro. I don't think we had a single Nitro recap for this whole entire show. So this was very wrestling heavy, which, once again, not totally against it. But, man, the formula of Thunder just fluctuates week by week.
You really Thunder's like a box of chocolates, right? You never know what you're going to get. This week, though, other than the fucking trash main event for me, I really enjoyed this Thunder. I think there was some good matches with some surprise finishes, which I like to see. I like to, kind of keeps us on our toes. And there's surprise finishes that make sense. They're not surprise finishes for the sake of just trying to be a surprise finish. That said, there were some bad finishes and bad matches mostly with the NWO. But we got some little storyline with the LWO, and you got the return of Booker T, and more importantly, you got the return of Glacier. So I don't know how you could be disappointed with that.
Did you really not enjoy I understand that it wasn't really a match, but I kind of didn't mind that it wasn't a match. I think we all knew that this was going to be like a thrown out match anyways. So the fact that we already didn't have a ref in the match for the majority of it, actually kind of made it okay for me, because there was a lot of outside interference. Nobody was going to call for a call for the bell. It really made Luger look like the true face in peril that I think he always pretends to be, even though he shouldn't be. In this case, he should be, and it was definitely shown much better. I think Buff was totally entertaining throughout this whole entire thing.
He was entertaining. I'll give you that.
So, I mean, I understand from a match perspective of like who's going to win or lose. This was a shit booking, but I actually was thoroughly entertained by the main event, and maybe that's just because the bar for main events, especially with what I would consider, no offense to Scott Steiner and Lex Luger, but I wouldn't consider them one of the better workers.
Especially Luger, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, from what we got from it, based on who we knew was going to wrestle, I actually was okay with it, and I think we got more than what I think you and I probably expected.
Okay, fair enough. That said, that was our show this week. If you haven't yet subscribed, go do it. Let us know how we're doing. Leave us a review. It helps this show out immensely. Give us a follow on Twitter at Thundercraps. Tweet at us. We'll tweet out with you. We'll send gifts, all that kind of stuff. Have a lot of fun out there with interacting with fans. And of course, you always go to thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes. After that, go check out Thunder 40. Kyle, we are now 40 episodes into Thunder. It is November 12th, 1998. We are coming up quickly to the end of the year. It's just wild to think about. It's been quite a ride here so far. For Kyle Hoagland, I am Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercrafts podcast.
We are Ralphusingly out of time. See ya.